Come on. I was restacking a shelf and like squatted down to pick up a box and they split down my ass. Funny enough, I've never had that, but I've had it split at the front instead. Hello, Hyper Nadine. How are you today? Never had them split at the front. I really do not recommend. Fine, how are you? I'm doing lovely. We're getting in the middle of, we're almost done actually, this makeup look. And then we gotta work on the outfit a little bit. But it's 2 hours of work with your underwear showing. That's like, that is the cherry on the top. Like, how I guess it depends where you're working now, but still it's like someone's just gonna go behind you and they're gonna be like, oh, excuse me, did you know? And you're like, yeah. What about it? Thunder freezers. And a corner store, okay. It doesn't really help, I don't think. Because I was gonna say, like, you couldn't hide behind a counter, but if you're stalking and doing things, it just would not be good. Oh, I do have pans with holes in. Just kind of owned it. No, I think that's really like the best thing that you even can do. My customer was in, I made sure not to turn around. That's like the kind of time where it's, you need to make sure nobody is. Like, that's the best time for like a slow day. But I'm trying to think of the worst things that happened to me at work. I've had a lot of times where it's like, they're like, oh, Chloe, you're here. We canceled your shift. And it's like, oh. And then they're like, well, while you're here, why don't you work anyways? And I was just, oh, okay. I really want to go home, but I mean, if you insist. Hate it. Just hate it. Oh, I think maybe the most stressful, I used to work at like a very, very small grocery store, and most of the time there would be only one person in the store. Please, bring me a jacket. Please. It was my first couple days in this little small grocery store, and I had to open, which means like if I'm not there, it's not going to get opened. And if I slept in, for example, nobody wouldn't know until the next person's time to come in, which is hours later. But I think my first couple days, I just slept in. Not by a lot, but I was going to be like probably 10 minutes late to opening, and I was absolutely mortified. I was like, they're going to fire me. And it turned out okay. Nobody probably would have known if I didn't call the boss immediately. But I did, because I was so scared of what was going to happen. But I also used to have a super insane boss. And he was an older gentleman. And then I think he hired this other older woman. And they were probably about the same age. And I think she must have had like a crush on him, which was extra wild. Because he was not really like a hunk. But she was obsessed with him. And I think she was under the impression she'd be working with him. And she like flirted her way into the job. But when I was training her, she literally ignored me and was like talking to my boss, aka the owner of the store, and was like, I was telling her, okay, so you have to do this. She cuts me off. She's like, so Bill, how is your golf? That's so funny. It's like, God. Okay. And he was also the most awkward person, so I don't even know how. She was also married too. And then she's like, it was time for her lunch on the first day, and she came back like 30 minutes late because she's like went out with her husband. I was like, you have to come back on time. I hate working with boys around my age. Girls like that, dropping the panties for everyone they meet. But get this. They were both probably older than 60. Which, to me, makes it way, way more wild. Like, how? You guys are both married, too. So what? Pardon? My eyeballs are sticking together. But she was actually terrible at her job. She pretty much simply just didn't do her job. She called me once on her day off and she was like, oh, this one made me extra mad actually, because I trained her for a little bit. And while I was training her, she was like, I already know this. I already know how to do this. You don't need to tell me this. And just kind of like waved me away and she's like, but then on like this same training shift, she was like, Chloe, can you come do this for me? Can you come do this for me? And I so badly wanted to just be like, I thought you already knew how. I thought you already knew how, miss. But nope. And then I like showed her how to do one thing. I was like, this is really important. Make sure that you know how to do this because I'm not here tomorrow. You're by yourself tomorrow. So make sure you know how to do this. And then what do I get? A call on my day off. And she's like, Chloe, how do I do this? And it was like an extremely important thing. And it was just terrible. We're going to take these out now. But she ended up getting fired because she forgot to lock the doors, like the front door, on multiple occasions. But she also forgot to lock the safe, and that's the safe with the money in it from the entire day that doesn't get picked up until the morning. And she didn't even put the money in the safe. It was lying. And not only that, it was like $50 off too, which was extra bad. And then apparently when she got fired, she was super dramatic and Also, we are talking about how one girl got fired at my old work and just experiences in the work life. Hi, Jay. Hello. But believe it or not, there's actually someone before her that was not worse at their job, but also had a much worse reason for being fired. But what happened was, there's one girl, and she was the girl that trained me. And, first she came off like really nice, but almost like too nice. Like it was a little scary. And like you get like put off by it, where it's too much. And then as she was training me, she sort of started to like it started off as really nice, but then the cracks started being created. And she like would just sort of get like snappy. Like I would do something and she'd be like, "Gah!" And then just go back to being like, Of course. And then the reason she got fired was because something happened with a customer. She was getting a little frustrated, and I think she actually had anger issues, but she had an absolute meltdown in front of a customer and just screamed at them over like probably, I think it was like the smallest thing. The thing I hate most when I hire people is when their mom or something writes the resume/application. Oh no. I've had that where like moms come in and they're like, "This is my son's resume." Glad I could do that. I do have more work horror stories, but I think what the cherry on top of the story is that this girl like got fired for screaming and having a meltdown at a customer. Her mother-in-law also worked at the store, and I think she just did a bad job working at the store because she got fired too. But I say that because she would sort of interchangeably use boyfriend and fiance when talking about her husband. And then it was his mom also worked at the store, which was extra weird. And it was just all around almost like an incestuous vibe going on. But there was one girl that I worked with that I thought was really cool and really nice. And Alabama vibes, absolutely. And she was just like probably the coolest person that could have came out of that place. And then stories with her in it, it's like once a customer came in, was like, "Oh, I make my own birdhouses. Want to see?" And then as a response, she was like, "Oh, I love birdhouses." And then the next day he comes in and he made her a birdhouse. And then she's just like, she put it in the bag and she's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. And then he comes back another time with an even bigger birdhouse. And it was just way bigger, like a story or two bigger. She's like, I don't know what to do. If I was a superhero, what would my name be? Oh, shoot, I have to think about it. Give me a second. Birdhouse friends. Yeah. I think at my old job, it's like, it was a grocery store where most people, the customers that came in were like TT across your chest. Really? What was I saying? Ugh, I lost my train of thought. It would just... If Shawty gave me a birdhouse, I don't even know what I'd do. Low-key worried my boss is gonna mention it on Tuesday. I mean, it's not your fault. Like, what can you even do? Birdhouse Riz. Imagine. Oh yeah. Most of the people that would come in were very, very elderly. And oh my god, did they love to chat. I'd have people come in and they'd be like, Timothy doesn't like this cake, but you know, it's for his graduation. And then just go into so many details. Like I know them. And I'm like, yeah, I just, you know, because it's a special day, like you want to get him something special. Obviously. And then like when they leave, I'm like, I hope Timmy loves this. You stayed the whole shift with a rip down your pants. That shows a hard worker. That shows someone who's down. I mean, me personally, I try to find a way out of it. I guess it depends how much time you have left. Because I feel like if there's 2 hours left, I'd probably be like, I'll stick it out. Unless it was really busy. I don't know. I worked at a Subway by a retirement home. I talked to so many grandmas and grandpas for half an hour. I had the exact same thing. And it was like, usually it was really, really slow too. So it was kind of nice. And when you chat them up, they're so much nicer. And I had to like figure out ways to like, because when angry old people come in, it's sometimes the worst people to deal with. But my strategy was just to be on their side always. Like they'd be like, why don't you have this? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, we just didn't get them in with our shipments, but like they're so popular, so I don't understand why they wouldn't do it. And then they'd be like, she knows what's up, even though I'd fake it. Or a lot of times people would ask me when I recommended for their food products, and they'd be like, have you ever tried this? What is it like? And I would make things up. I would make things up to make it sound like I knew what I was talking about. I'd be like, well, I've never tried it, but my coworker blah 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 says this, and she loves it. Make up people's names just for fun. My thought process was like 2 hours left. Gotta walk home. May as well stay here and hope my roommate brings me something to save my ass. Literally. I guess if you do have like a saving grace, it's like, okay, there's something that could make this better. This could get better. Me and this grandpa, at least 88 to 90 years old, turned on my coworker. She was so funny. I think once I had someone come in that was very, very elderly, and they came in and they were like, I don't know where I am. Where am I? I'm like, pardon? What do you mean you don't know where you are? How did you get here? He's like, I drove. Where am I? I'm like, M&M's? Like, what? And he's like, I have to get to the bank. Can you help me find it? So I'm like, well, I guess I'm not dealing with other customers, so might as well. But he also had like probably the most shaky hands ever, and he was kept going like, I don't know where I am, and he just handed me this piece of paper and he's like, find this for me. And I'm like, okay. So it's actually just like right down the road, and then you'll find it if you go right down like this road. And he just wasn't getting it. I was like, I don't feel good about leaving you to drive away by yourself. Like, I feel like you should call someone. And I think I even asked that. I was like, do you have anyone you could call right now? And he just kept saying, like, I don't know where I am. And that was probably the most scary experience. Okay, I deal with truckers all day. Contrary to popular belief, there are a significant amount of female drivers, and they are the best. The image that I'm picturing in my head is like of a female trucker is pretty amazing, and I feel like dealing with them is probably a lot more pleasant, I think. All right, everyone, I need to take a quick washroom break, but I will be right back with many more stories. Semi-trucks, 18-wheelers. There are old women, a lot are young, and are just, girls. I'm gonna expose you with girl code right now. Okay, I will be right back. Just gotta go use the restroom, but I'll be right back. From my little break, and I think to finish, I forgot I need to finish off the look, but we're just gonna have like a little bit of pigtails in for funsies. But let me catch back off. Thanks. Our best semi-truck driver is a 4'7" Chinese man. So the concept of a big, burly, rough neck, redneck, long-haul trucker is a thing of the past. Progress, baby. This could just work. The look I'm going for today is just like a little e-girl. I'm not going anywhere today. So it's a look for staying in. It's a look for streaming. But we're here. This is probably going to be the one time that I'm seeing today. But I think there's one other thing I was going to say about my work that was absolutely insane. I did have one time where I think I was looking to get my shift covered because I was so sick. And then I texted one of my coworkers, and she just sent back a picture of her on vacation. And then she's like, sorry, can't. I'm on vacation. It's like, oh, I'm jealous. But many times I would go into work, and then I'd have a stamp from the bar the night before, and I tried to wash it off, and it simply would not go. But I have to say, working retail it has its quirks. But I also used to work at a amusement park meant for small children. And let me say, dealing with moms in that environment is probably the worst customer service experiences that I've ever had. I mean, I think, like, the most mad a customer has ever gotten mad at me is because I worked at an ice cream shop, and we didn't have coffee, and it was also closing time. I was like, you gotta go. And she was like, why don't you sell coffee? I'm like, this is an ice cream shop, ma'am. I got ice cream for you if you want. And then, she was very, very upset. I was like, when you leave, there's a Tim Hortons, which is a coffee shop
a cheap one too. It's a coffee shop down the road. Like, when you leave, you can't miss it. Got one there. Not here. And she's so beyond mad. She literally was like, let me talk to your manager. And I was like, go right ahead. I love when people ask that, especially when I am the manager. I used to be the manager at the grocery store, and I was like, you're talking to her, baby. Used to work at an indoor play thing, but I quit in my second week. I had one friend who worked at like an indoor kids place, and they quit immediately. I believe after their first, as they call it, Code Brown. Which if you don't know what that is, you can imagine when kids are around, Code Brown means something terrible has happened. Same thing. Though, thank God, when I worked at this amusement park, I only worked in food, and I only served ice cream. Got blamed for a Code Brown. How? Was it adult-sized? You did this. But, like, I think I'm so glad I didn't work maintenance, because the maintenance people would always come and hang out by the ice cream place. It's just the spot to hang out. And they just told me a story of a Code Brown in a slide, and this guy being held by his ankles and forced to clean up the Code Brown. And oh my lord, I'm so surprised he didn't quit after that. And I think the reason he didn't quit is because he quit before and couldn't find nothing better. Thank you, Jay. Hopefully, I'll be able to see you next time. See you round town. But let me say, like, especially working around kids is a whole different level of problems. Ooh, one thing that happened at my old place of work is that there would be a volunteer group that came by and would clean up the park with like trash. But these were volunteers, so they weren't paid. But this volunteer group was specifically disabled people. So the place where I worked, all around the park, would have it be cleaned by disabled people who were not being paid. Which feels a little wrong. Oh, it was a birthday party for this 10-year-old girl and her friends. And one of the girls shit their pants and ran to their dad. And the dad blamed me for not showing them where the bathroom was, even though they didn't ask. And there was massive bathroom signs on the wall. That's extra wild. Like, she did that. She did that on her own. That was her decision. Also, I feel like 10 is like kind of old. Like, I feel like 10, I don't know what grade you're in, but it feels a little old. Like, you're way past diapers by then. I'm pretty sure. If I did that at 10, not a soul would know about that. Like, that's the age where you start to get, like, embarrassed about things. It's not... What? Not good. Oh, jeez. I mean, the amusement park I worked at was made for mostly, like... I want to say, like, anywhere from, like, a baby to just above a toddler. I'm a busy girl, but if I ever shat myself, nobody's knowing. I feel like there's so much less shame in, like, maybe peeing yourself a little. I feel like especially if you're a girl. Because, like, you ever hear a mom talk about jumping on a trampoline? They're peeing themselves. You put a mom on a trampoline, it's just what's gonna happen. And also, I feel like you pee yourself from, like, laughing. From joy. But I feel much less shame about peeing myself. Although, I think the amount of times I've shit myself as an adult is a little surprising. But the only reason I feel comfortable saying this is because I was terribly, terribly sick. So I feel like it takes, like, a load off. I mean, I think once I got my wisdom teeth removed, and I was if anybody's come off painkillers, you know the experience, because painkillers, they make you constipated, and they keep you that way. But as soon as you get off them, your body works overtime to get everything out. And so, when I got my wisdom teeth taken out, I was coming off painkillers, probably like 3 days after. Oh my god. One of the worst experiences I've had in my life. I've had tattoos on my ribs. Nope. Nowhere close to the amount of pain. I've even had a kidney infection, and I don't know if it was that bad. I think there's a really good example of this. If anybody's ever seen Trainspotting, there's a scene where he's coming off heroin, and he explains it. He explains the phenomenon very well. I think another time is I took a laxative for the first time. And oh my god. I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect that. Yeah, my brother did chemo and his meds blocked him up so bad he pooped a softball. That's impressive. Very impressive, actually. Props to him and good luck in not impressive while he cried. I understand why he would have cried. That is, I'm like taken aback by that. Just, I don't wish that upon anyone. I'll say that. And my consolations to him. Oh my. I have to say, though, having a tummy ache at work, it's not up there, but it's a step below. Because if you're at work and your tummy is hurting, like, you're like talking to customers and you're like, just like that in a bag. Costs an extra 15 cents. Oof. Piss my pants during a game. Oh my lord. Must have been playing hard. I can deal with pain. I can deal with horrible cuts and blood. But if my tum-tum is upset, I will complain like a child. Just randomly admitting stuff now. But something about a tummy ache is just so much worse. Because I feel like there's no way to make it, like, go away. It's a different type of pain that just... But also it is how I explain cramps to guys. I'm like, Having cramps is like having your tummy be really, really upset. But just imagine it in a different spot. And then I think I was explaining this to the guy, and I'm like, have you ever had your tummy be upset? And they're like, no. I'm like, what have you even been through? Nothing. You've been through nothing. Didn't want to step out the game, so I tried holding it. Some girl tackled me, and it just released. One of my friends tried picking me up, and I was like, wait, please. I feel like it would be effective if you were tackled and the piss released onto the opposing team. It's definitely a power move. Yeah, I shattered my big toe, broke a finger at the same time, walked it off like a man, but have a queasy wheezy tum-tum fall apart. I think I've both broken a finger and a toe. Tum-tum, way up there. Just nothing beats a tummy ache. Like, if you say your tummy's hurting, everybody is like, oh, everybody is very sympathetic. And I feel like that's also the best way to get out of things too. Like, I'm trying to think. I've definitely used it. Ooh, once as a child, I said, to get out of gym class, I was like, I don't feel well. I really don't feel well. And then this was a substitute teacher. They're like, yeah, your face looks really, really pale. Like, you don't look well. I was like, I was faking it, but okay. This turned out a little unexpected. And I was like, oh, I think I just look like that. But I don't know if I just faked it so well that I could just do that, or if I just looked like that. Well, called off on a work day, called my boss. He's like, why can't you come in? I was like, dude, I've been on the toilet all night. Enough said. Feel better. That's what I always say. I say, like, someone's like, I don't want to go to work. And I was like, tell them you have diarrhea. Tell them that. Because guess what? No more questions asked. And it's like, that's all you need to know. And done. Except once I called into work. To be honest, if you tell your boss you're exploding out your backside, they won't question it. Because nobody wants to know more. And you also have incredible sympathy for such a thing. But once I was calling in because I drank a lot the night before, and I set an alarm for 2 hours before anybody even needed to go into the store, because I knew I wanted to be very considerate because I was on opening shift. But I set it for maybe even 3 hours before. I called in and I was like, hi, I will not be able to come in today. My tummy is so upset. And then my boss was like, are you sure? You've been calling in a lot lately. But I hadn't. The only time I called off before that, ever. Like, I never, ever missed a day. Except for one time. And it was because I had COVID. And I sent him the positive test. I said, sorry, I can't come in. I have COVID. And then he was like, you've been doing that a lot. Like, my boss used to be such a drama queen. He was a 6-year-old man, but oh my god, I've never seen anyone more sassy. Well, when people lie and call out of work, they're like, I have a cold, I don't feel well. But if you call and you're shooting water out of your bum, dude, boss doesn't even want to hear it or care. Oh, I've had COVID probably about 5 times. And I've had it with varying degrees of severity. First time, and probably other times that I didn't even know about, to be honest. 5 times. No, I think it's because my mom worked at a hospital. So, and then it would just spread throughout the family. Or I still have a younger sister who was in and out the hospital quite a bit. And then a lot of times we'd find out because they'd have to test her before she like gets admitted. They'd be like, "Oh, you have COVID." And I'd be like, What? So sometimes I didn't even notice, didn't even feel anything. Other times I was like completely out and down. Not a chance. But I think the worst times I've gotten COVID is when I stopped living with my family and moved out on my own, and I was like, there's nobody to take care of me. And okay, when I had it, I fully understand why it kills people. Like, for 2 months afterwards, your lungs were dead. I'm surprised it didn't hit me really bad, but I think the worst illness I've ever had was I had a kidney infection, and then I think I actually threw up from the pain. That's the only time I've ever done that. But a really quick way to get admitted at the ER is to just be a bumbling mess in the ER. Like, I came in and I was crying. I had my mask on too, and it was just soiled wet from tears and just snot. And they're like, "What seems to be the problem?" And I was like, it hurts. They're like, we're gonna run some tests on you. It was. I think it skipped a layer and just went right in. Because first I started getting like cramps in like my back and my side, and I thought I pulled a muscle. It was like that exact feeling. But then it started getting worse, and I started not doing so great at school. So it's like, okay, I have these morning classes, I'm gonna go for it. And then I woke up at 6 a.m. I couldn't get up because I couldn't move like the sides of my body. I was literally just like paralyzed, stuck. I was like, oh. And then I went back to sleep. And then I woke up and I was like, shoot, I missed my classes. And then I threw up from the pain, and then I called my mom and I was like, "Mom, help. I threw up." My friend's mother had a UTI and it spread to her heart. Oh my god. I didn't even know that was possible. Like, I really didn't think that was a thing. But, I mean, I guess it makes sense. But, like, you would think that it would, like, to her heart, you would think there'd be, like, something before that. But I guess it's just crazy. Body's crazy, man. Oh my god, I'm really taken aback by that. I have to like digest that. No joke. But get this, the first antibiotics that I got put on, they made me also sick. Which I've never had a bad reaction to antibiotics except for this one time. And I literally threw up everything I ate and drank. Do you think I could try sewing my pants together maybe? I think you could. I would just be like, you'd have to sew them like pretty well to risk them not ripping again. So I'd say it depends on your skills. But I bet if you like double, like if you went over it again, or if you have a sewing machine, then I think you would be good. Biggest issue is people on antibiotics take them, feel better, and stop. Oh my god, that's like, something broke. you could sew them back together and it could work. You could even look up, like, you could even just hand sew it too. And I would personally go over it twice just to make sure that it doesn't break again. But I've sewn things back together and it's been perfectly fine. But I think that's also crazy to hear. People on antibiotics feel better than stop. That's like the biggest thing that a doctor will say. They'll say, do not stop this until you're finished this whole bottle. Do not stop it. Like, it's either try best sewing